Evening and good morning, Unicorn fam. Welcome to the Crypto Unicorns Town Hall number 38. This is Sparkly Unicorn with Witty Unicorn on Tech. For those not in the know, Town Hall events are happening on a bi weekly basis. Half of the Town Hall events are handled by Aaron, and the other half of the Town Hall events will be handled by members of the internal team. Let's introduce who we have on stage for today. We have Ziori, Corbin Laguna, and LG Jeff ready to say hi, share updates, and answer questions. Can we get an intro?
Hi, everybody. I'm Ziori. Very excited to be doing, I think, my first official town hall. I was in one earlier, but I felt so new that I didn't have my sea legs. Now I feel like month 2.5 months in, I'm ready to dive deep. Excited to be here with Jeff and Corbin, two very smart brains that know the unicorns well, and Sparkly and Witty, of course.
Hey everyone, I'm Corbin. I'm a product manager here at Laguna.
I'm Jeff. I'm a designer at Laguna.
All right, thank you so much for introducing yourselves. Do y'all have any updates for us? Anything you can tell us about patch 2.1's reception? And I'm pretty sure we do have a lot coming in for patch 2.2 and hot fixes. Let's see what updates our team has for us.
I can maybe kick it off a little bit. I've been trying to spend more time in Discord recently. Some of you might have noticed, both in general and serious. That's often where I'm hanging out, as well as the founders chat. It seems like the 2.1 patch was a pretty big success overall. The jousting updates specifically were ones that we had I not exactly soft polled, but kind of temperature checked with the community and made sure that we were moving in the right direction. Felt really good to at least to get that initial gut check of, guys, this feels a lot better. I think we did tweak some numbers and made some changes based on that feedback. So personally, I considered that whole rep like a win. And, even though that wasn't a DAO vote or something formal, it felt very much in the ethos, and it made me feel really good. Like, I felt confident about 2.1 before we shipped it because we had already kind of talked to the community about it and gotten that gut check that it was moving in the right direction. So that was my high level analysis as the new guy on the block. But I'd love to hear what your thoughts were, Corbin. I know you and I had talked about 2.1 a lot before it got shipped.
Yeah, so far it's looking great. It's great to see jousting engagement up. We're going to continue monitoring that and design the grand jousting tournament around it. But yeah, our all-time high we reached after 2.1 with 508 tournaments ran within a day, which is absolutely crazy. So hopefully we can continue that and yeah, just keep improving jousting over the short term.
And we were pleased to hear about the reception of story quests and permanent quests. One thing in particular, there's a bunch of stuff we want to do as a team, but we only have so many resources. So sometimes we have to be scrappy in kind of testing things and putting content out there. So one of the updates of 2.1 was us being able to charge tokens for quests, RBW and Unim. So we thought, well, now that we could charge RBW, why not try and simulate a battle pass sort of thing around jousting, and just put it out there and see how everyone takes it, and if there's a lot of traction, maybe we will do more dev work around that. And so far, we've been very happy with engagement with the jousting pass. We've had a little over 300 quote unquote jousting passes purchased since last week's launch. So the current results are pretty positive, and will help us focus on maybe trying to improve the quote unquote battle pass as a feature going forward.
Corbin, I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about like the importance of the kind of story quests and this framework now, because this is a big change, right? Starting to tie the ecosystem together, and it's the first time Crypto Unicorns has had enough different things to do that it feels like it needs to be tied together. We can't forget Team RPG. Like, that vote is going on right now, so that will be a game in our ecosystem before you know it. And Unicorn Party is right around the corner. So we have a lot of different experiences now, as well as jousting, that need to kind of tie back to that main game, right? And that's sort of what these story quests start to open up a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great point. Obviously, with the jousting battle pass, that helps us connect the jousting loop with the farm loop through story quests, and story quests also give us the ability to help, ease the onboarding experience for new players by walking them through a series of quests that get them familiar with gathering, crafting, breeding, questing, etc., with the intent of them being able to expand their unicorn population from 2 to 4 by the time they complete those. And it also gives us the ability to tailor certain quests to the more veteran players that have the high stat unicorns and can, attack and defeat the Shadowcorns via those quests. So there's a lot of exciting stuff we can do with story quests, and yeah, we're excited to throw some additional chains in there. I think the next set of chains we have will be coming out in the next release, which will be for obviously more high level players, and then it'll also focus on items that get you familiar with crafting seed bags and other things to that extent.
Yeah, and I see a comment here, Jeff. I hate to call you out in real time, but I was also confused the first time you said Battle Pass. I think even in an internal meeting, I was like, wait, we shipped a Battle Pass? I was like, oh, okay. And I think your explanation made a lot of sense to me, where because you do have to sync some RBW up front, it it kind of works like a Battle Pass would to some degree, where you put an upfront investment and then you unlock more rewards as you go. But I see in chat, like, framing it like a quest line might be a good way to make it more intuitive, because people certainly don't see it as a battle pass.
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of an occupational hazard. You get used to calling features by their, a familiar mechanic from a game design perspective, and the quest line functions very similar to how a lot of other battle passes work. And so internally, we've just been kicking around the name battle pass to refer to this particular quest line. But I definitely get the point of being more clear with the terminology, for sure.
Overall, great feedback though, and I think it's really awesome to hear, even just anecdotally, see people say, like, it felt good. The quest line reminded me of an RPG game, which I like. Seeing feedback like that makes me feel good, man. That's exactly what we're going for, right?
Yeah, exactly. I absolutely love the story and the storyline in the quests. And I've heard that a lot of the community really appreciates them as well. So we're always pressing our ears to Discord, wanting to find out how to make the best game experience for the community. Oh, speaking of that, by the way, can we share that thing with jousting? So I heard we were going to have an ELO system. Can we confirm or deny this?
That is correct. Joust Elo will be included in the 2.2 release, alongside the delegation feature and then our nursery UI UX overhaul to show you the genes and chances and how boosters affect that. So very big release that we're excited for. We actually started kicking off, or doing a lot of kickoffs this week. So the team has transitioned a lot of our efforts over to getting 2.2, and yeah, we're excited to get started on that and ship to the community.
Yeah, that's really exciting. And as just a step back for anyone that's not familiar with the lingo, so ELO, it's actually someone's name. ELO refers to what most games call MMR, or like the number associated with matchmaking systems. This is not even unique to video games. Chess, table tennis, all these like traditional sports use some sort of ELO MMR system. Generally, everyone will start at a fixed number. It can kind of be calibrated in different ways. For a lot of games, it's commonly 1500, and you get matched up against other people that are at a similar MMR. And if someone's higher than you, then you win more points for being the underdog and beating the favorite, and vice versa. So the higher you climb, it's sort of, if you're the highest one on the leaderboard, you only get a couple points per win. So it's really challenging. And if you're, at the bottom, it's kind of easier to climb your way up. So that's the high level kind of layman's explanation of how ELO works. The cool thing about this rating is I think it will be a bit of an elegant solution to what we currently have stopgapped with the different, stat limits and the different brackets and stuff. ELO will naturally allow the best unicorns to float towards the top. Then they'll also get matched against the better unicorns, and it will give us a system to help level things out. And it should give unicorns one more kind of sexy marketing feature where you can see tangibly, like, look, this unicorn is high rated. I got him up. Now I'm going to sell him because I've proven his worth in the jousting arena, that kind of thing. Anyway, I'm very excited about ELO as a competitive gamer, and I think it'll help give a lot of much needed context to jousting. Corbin, feel free to add anything that I missed there, but yeah, really stoked about that feature, man.
No, I think you covered everything for ELO. I mean, the cool thing, in my opinion, is unicorns naturally get better in stats. Like, you're going to continue having to breed and evolve your unicorns to maintain your ELO score, right? Because if you have a really good unicorn now, it might not be a really good unicorn in 6-7 months, right? So it's that constant pressure to stay at the top of the line for unicorn stats so that you can obtain that high ELO. And on that note, we actually need some help on what the public-facing name will be for ELO. We've had several names floating around. We could do like Joust Rank, Joust Rating, Joust Honor. So we'll be posting a visual of what this ELO icon will look like to the community, and then we can use y'all's help developing the final name for it, which should be pretty fun.
Definitely. And something else I don't know if we've talked about, or maybe I've just kind of assumed, is once you have the MMR system, the ELO system out, that's a really easy leaderboard, right? You can just now sort unicorns by MMR overall, and we'll have a cool leaderboard, and we'll be able to see like some celebrity corns. Maybe there's one that breaks away and wins like crazy. Maybe it's really competitive where we see this, insane top 10 of people battling for that, ongoing who's pushing the envelope of the jousting matchmaking leaderboard kind of deal. More food for thought.
Exactly. Yeah, that would be awesome. Have a unicorn specific leaderboard that just counts ELO. I think that's a great idea and something that we can do.
All right, there you go, community. We tried to go for ELO users, and we got a whole lot more. I did it for y'all. Okay, so let's get the question part of this town hall started. As a reminder, we have 3 questions per person. If a question has been answered previously, you'll have to ask something else. Any questions related specifically to your account or Zendesk issue, please reach out to us on the Mod Support channel so the CM team can help you out. There are also questions that are better answered by other specialists in Team LG, so we might have to get back to your question at the end of the town hall. Don't worry, I will make sure they get addressed. To ask a question in voice, please press the request to speak button. The button looks like a raised hand and you can queue up at any time. Once we accept your request, we'll see a green bar at the top of your Discord. Click accept to begin speaking. We also have written questions. It's on the Town Hall Bulletin Forum channel on the Town Hall number 38 thread. Take note that we prioritize spoken questions over written ones. You can also head on stage and ask any question that you may find there. But first up are the anonymous questions. We have a handful today. We accept a maximum of 5 anonymous question askers, so we're full up for now. Okay, so we have anonymous person number 1 asking, what are the marketing plans for CU? This is kind of a meme by now. So for those who are not aware, you can head on over to our Team Notes channel under News and Updates. So our marketing director posts a monthly marketing update there. We're actually due for another one sometime this May, where you can get updated on all the marketing efforts that we have been making.
I can add a little extra color here as well, because what I've been doing is maybe a little more stealth, but I've been trying to work with guilds in terms of user acquisition, in terms of more lingo. And anytime you hear us say UA, that refers to user acquisition, aka trying to get new users. Obviously, I have a pretty big network of people in just play to earn gaming in general. So I've been spending time reaching out to guilds and doing what I call good old fashioned sales, trying to influence the influencers, if you will, going to guild founders, some of them even just esports teams and folks that maybe there's a Venn diagram there, maybe there isn't, but just talking to the leaders, getting us on the radar, explaining that we are a sustainable play to earn game, that there are opportunities to earn if you're skilled at it, that it has depth. There's this race to breed the first 6-part mythic, all that good stuff. Highlight that jousting is a thing, tease the grand jousting tournament a little bit. And it starts with small airdrops. I'm talking like 5 bundles, 10 bundles, 15 bundles, little things to kind of build trust that are low risk and just get these people activated so I can put my money where my mouth is. And my goal is that will end up being scalable because I'm influencing the influencers, and then these guild leaders and officers can become our evangelists within the guilds as they start to onboard players. I think Ola GG, some of you might have seen some of that Spanish content. They're helping us break into the LATAM region a little bit. They're still working on their delegation system, so they haven't actually started distributing the assets we airdrop them yet, but they're making content, they're doing Twitch streams. That I think is a byproduct of me meeting with their founders, explaining our value prop, and like ensuring legitimacy. We all know that we're legit, but in crypto, everyone is skeptical because there's so much garbage out there. So the first step is just reminding people that we're alive, we're legitimate, and like, hey, I'm a person. I'm staking my Xiori reputation on this project being legitimate, and then we can talk about all the really cool, sexy stuff that we're doing. So anyway, I don't want to blather on and on, but cautiously optimistic that some of the seeds I'm planting with the guilds will turn into flowers, and maybe even large bushels of flowers. So not exactly marketing, but it's a form of UA, and I'm hoping to see some results from that. And also, we're going to be at Conquest coming up really soon, leaving for the Philippines in a week. I'm also going to be speaking at the 3XP conference after that, both of which I'm going to do my best to wear some loud clothes, wear some big heels, and hand out as many unicorn QR codes as I can. So bootstraps, baby, bootstraps. Anyway, sorry, Sparkly, I don't want to hog the mic.
No, man, that's amazing. That's super stoked. Oh, I also want to add, OlaGG community is pretty stoked. Yeah, shout out to OlaGG. They've been streaming our game and the website and basically showing what Crypto Unicorn is all about. So I'm really hyped about that. And hopefully we get future guilds doing that with the same level of activation. All right, let's move on to another question. Annan is asking, I was looking at the quarterly report and there is hardly any transparency on where the money used for development is spent. Can we get a little bit more clarity on that front? So the quarterly report is actually very general. We don't really list things on an item per item basis, but I will get eyes on this question and get back to you. Okay, next. Yeah.
Again, I can maybe add some color. I don't know if Jeff or Corbin want to chime in, but this one is tricky because even though our goal is to be as transparent as possible, not every partner or contractor we work with shares that same degree of transparency in terms of value hierarchy. One of the things we did when we all met in San Francisco, whatever it was, a month ago, shortly after I joined the team, we talked about like what are our values as a company, as a product, as an organization. It's easy to say, oh, decentralization, transparency, but if you actually have to limit your choices and put them into a hierarchy, we did place transparency pretty high. And I think for our products, that's very true, especially relative to a lot of other blockchain games. But other developers that are good at building games, but they're building the game part, not as much the blockchain part. They don't necessarily want us to reveal exactly what their price structure is or how much we're paying. A lot of these are custom deals, and it's hard to just say, hey, here's the receipt, because that doxes everyone else's information also. So I think high level, that's the challenge specifically with some of those bucket items. I don't know if that sounds like an excuse or not, but I think that's where it gets really tricky.
No, that's pretty reasonable, actually. Thanks for sharing that information. All right, we have number 3. What is the midterm plan for sustainability of the game economy? Without new players joining very soon, all the OGs will upgrade everything to level 10 and start extracting. I'm worried that if this happens and the side of the DAO stays the same or similar to its current state, then the game won't make it.
The answer here is basically continue to develop more depth into the CU economy. Uh, you know, you're right that extraction will start. If players run out of content. So the answer is to create more content. And while a lot of features that we have planned, require dev resources, we do have ways to add more content that are strictly through game tuning. So we are monitoring the rate at which players are kind of getting to the max level and have plans in place to put out more content. But a lot of what we have in the works will expand upon what players can do, and will definitely make it so that they haven't run out of content to consume in the game. So short to midterm, adding depth, adding more content is a way to tie the game over until we reach higher player growth.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I don't think a lot of people understand how much depth we have in the current economy. Paired that with the fact of every release we're shipping more and more depth. Obviously we just had jousting, and then we'll have tribes, and then we'll have racing, and all of these different game modes coming out that just keep adding more and more depth in there. So as Jeff said, it's about just keep increasing the amount of depth in our economy. And I think that's how we're approaching it.
And one aspect as well is always trying to build with more action in mind. I mean, I think that's a pretty common thing in our ethos. The staking V2 really exemplifies that. People that do more and play more and are better at the game generally should be rewarded more. And inactivity is, sometimes a necessary stopgap in the short term of this is part of the loop. This thing is here, but ultimately adding more layers to the gameplay and doing stuff like jousting and playing in the more interactive experiences. I think that's part of the solution, because it sort of becomes a function of trading engagement and gameplay for different rewards, and that engagement is what keeps the wheels turning.
All right, great to hear. Okay, we have another Anon asking, any plan to burn unicorns for Shadowcorns? I haven't seen anything else in the Shadowcorns roadmap. To be honest, I was expecting more battle between Shadowcorns and unicorns.
We definitely want to expand on the war between Shadowcorns and unicorns. I think to really capture that, though, there needs to be more pieces in place in both on web, where Shadowcorns largely live, as well as in game. That's why, in the roadmap, the battle for the Dark Forest, that's going to be primarily on web, and it's going to be smaller scale. Smaller scale compared with what we want for Shadowcorn Rifts, which we had formerly called Act 3, because having that war where you actually have unicorns with your tribe working together to fight the Shadowcorns. One, we need the tribe feature out there. We need some other features out there. We need to build some stuff to do it right. But the plans we have for Battle for the Dark Forest are pretty cool, and we're building with, again, more gameplay, more active gameplay in mind, less RNG, more control over how well you do. So in both cases, going back to Unicorn Death, both Act 2, Battle for the Dark Forest, and Shadowcorn Rifts will involve unicorns being killed, Shadowcorn minions being killed. Both of those features will have those um, aspects to them, but to really to have that full out war between shadowcorns and unicorns, the fact is we just will need to develop more both on web and in game to do it properly, and that's why it's farther out in the roadmap than some of the earlier features.
That completely makes sense. Okay, we have another Anon asking, can you speak on the rewards from the season events and how they are generated? Which rewards are purchased from a marketplace with treasury funds, and which rewards are generated by LG?
Yeah, I think this is in reference to our leaderboards. All of the non-native rewards obviously come from the treasury. So, like for the preseason, we had the USDC that came from the treasury. RBW and Unum come from our play to earn allocation, and then the unicorns we actually purchase on OpenSea or Haku.
All right. And the very last anonymous question. When we voted on Poop Scroll Quest, I thought we voted to have the seed exchange be a daily quest. Can you explain why it is showing up in the weekly quests? Oh, this is a known issue, and this is something that will get resolved in our latest hotfix. Okay, that's it for anonymous questions. Let's take a look at written questions. So far, we don't have anything on the spread. But we do have a question here from Alriad. Will the ELO system be per wallet or per unicorn?
It'll be per unicorn.
Okay. If it's per wallet, perhaps Glyco system might be good to account for the differences between corns in the wallet. What is Glyco system? Let's see. Oh, it's for chess and go. Oh yeah, I don't think that's going to be relevant because we will be using the ELO system per unicorn. Oh, we have.
And something like that might be more relevant in the future if we decide to do an elo system for Team RPG. You could imagine that on a per account level rather than a per unicorn, right?
Yeah,
and I think something like that would be more sufficient for Team RPG if we go that route.
all right. Next up, we have the truth. Please come on into the stage. Hey.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? I have a question about jousting. Was there ever thought to do a max total stat bracket? I feel like this would allow those with, just getting into the game to participate in jousting and not feel like they have to go out and buy more, high stat unicorns just to be able to participate and not lose every time. I feel like that could be a cool bracket. And then the second question is about the reported lag after the most recent update. I'm guessing that's probably near the top of your investigating and trying to figure out the next bugs, but just wanted to get your opinion on that, and I guess what's being prioritized as top bug fix or issue for the next release.
Yeah. So number 2, definitely on our list. We're investigating that. For number 1, I'd be curious. How have you liked the new Joust tournaments after the 2.1 release? Have you found that your corns are able to participate in, like, are you having a hard time, I guess is what I'm trying to say, finding a tournament for your corns, or what's the concern with the current requirements?
More just offering more options as well. And yeah, I don't always have the best corns to enter into these jousting. I've been able to win a few, but it's definitely the ones where the stats are limited, and most of the times I do win, I feel like it's a very random chance. It's less about matching up the stats and the potions and things. Whereas if you had a max stat of 1200 and 1500, right? The difference between, like, there's only 300 stats that could be positioned elsewhere. And with the limit now, it's like people can have these ridiculous corns that have maybe really low power, but they have 600 in magic or something like that,
Right.
where they just have
Yeah.
a really unfair advantage. Whereas if you did max stats, then yeah, some people could have really high power, but the rest of their stats are going to suck.
So
So
anecdotally, I think I felt some of your pain where I have mostly like stat donkeys. A lot of my unicorns I bought earlier and I haven't done that much breeding. And the ones I did buy were more for aesthetics and mythic parts. So I have a lot of like 1100 total stat unicorns, as you said, that aren't good at anything. And they just lose. Like most of my jousts, I've lost in the first round. And I only have a couple high stat unicorns. And then I only get to use them a part of the time because sometimes they're blocked out and then they're still not really that great compared to those super specialists. So I was going to ask you like what your magic number is for that kind of low bracket. Like is 1200 the right cutoff? Is 1100 too low? How many tiers there should be? That's kind of where my brain goes next because it does feel like it's still hard for the just overall low stat unicorns to have any place, which is maybe good, but maybe it's a pinch too punishing. I don't know. There's like a line there that needs to be balanced, right?
yeah, and I think you could definitely start out with you could even do 1000, something silly like that. You could start out by doing these increments of 200. I would say 200 is a solid number of you're not going to see really overpowering that are just slated to win 70% of the time or something like that in most of their brackets. But you can start out by just doing 1100, 1300, 1500, and you could also offer just smaller rewards, or you could offer like, because say someone really likes gambling, they really like to test their luck, right? But they know they're going to get killed every time. They're not going to enter any jousting tournaments, right? But say they are a really low stat and they can enter the max total stats of 1000. They could still put up 500 unim or something like that,
Yeah.
that could be used towards a one-on-one tournament or something like that. Like you could get crazy and offer all the tournaments you want, but then it's also it's definitely a balancing game of finding what people like, what people are actually playing, and if you offer too much, then who knows if they're really going to get filled. But
And to be clear, you're kind of suggesting like the current framework is pretty good, but it just needs an additional layer where, hey, for the people that just have like 5 pretty crappy floor unicorns, at least there's something that they can be semi-competitive in addition to the offerings we have right now that are pretty competitive. Is that a fair summary?
Exactly, yeah. And you could offer them side by side with the current jousting tournaments you have right now and see if people enter those more, and obviously gather the data and see kind of what people like. But just giving more options there, because a lot of times I find I have one unicorn that will fit in one jousting bracket. And the other ones
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is better spent, farming or doing something else. Like there's no way this corn is going to be entered into this.
I
But
do love the idea of testing at low stakes because I anecdotally, again, I can feel the psychology of like, I'd rather win and wager 5 RBW and get back a little bit of money than like do something that might even be higher expected value, but I know I need specialist corns for it. Like it's nice to have a wide spectrum, I guess. I could totally
then
empathize with that.
And then on
Sorry.
top of that, like getting the jousting tickets too. It's like if your corn doesn't, it won't win any of those jousting ticket uh, joust tournaments. How are we supposed to participate in the stories? I get that that's going to be a hard thing to kind of achieve, but if you still have people like, for anyone coming in, you want the barrier to be able to interact with all this stuff and feel like they're able to participate in every event.
Work your
Be
way up.
somewhat low. Obviously, you reward the people who have been here the longest, but maybe finding that balance of like, oh, like we want you to, if you're coming into the game as a new person, you have 5 unicorns. Are you going to really test out everything? Because it's just going to be, the ROI is not there, or it's not fun if you lose every time, right? So making those barriers and having obviously low stakes is, for me, it's like easy, not easy to do, but that seems like a simple solution. Like, yeah, you get the hang of it, then maybe you get interested. You're like, oh, I think I love jousting. It would be nice to win a bit more. Maybe I'll go buy another one that will be my joust corn or something like that. But just having the options there
Gotcha.
makes it yeah. Or you have even tournaments that are for new players or new corns that have been made or bought, right? Like you could start out that way where someone who's won 57 with this one unicorn is not allowed to enter that tournament, right? Like, so kind of newbie tournaments and things like that. Also, I know I'm taking a lot of time here as well, but one other thing too would be, would it be possible to maybe for the next round of RPG and whatever gets put into production, if we have kind of a community time 2 times a day where people jump on and start playing. Like everyone knows that like, okay, at this time there's going to be matches. It's not just going to be me and one other person going back and forth and I win 90% of the time or they win. Like if we had, 3 o'clock on, every day is when everyone jumps into the queue and you could get a lot more people to kind of go in at that time. Same thing with jousting, whatever it is, so that yeah, I don't know, I think that'd be a fun, easy kind of like, it's joust time today, whatever it is, or it's RPG time or something like that.
Bonus
Could be really
sessions.
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always think of like World of Warcraft did that with Vanilla WoW, where you have these 4 different battlegrounds, and every weekend it would rotate which battleground was like the bonus where you got double honor points or whatever it was. And that helped just ensure that you didn't have to play everything, but generally if you play the game every week, you just naturally follow the incentives and start to touch all of the experiences. So that might be a kind of a general concept we should experiment with as we have more things to do and more stuff coming online. And the Twitch streams that we've played around with have gotten pretty good feedback. So I think that idea of doing these kind of game sessions, even in the short term, it makes some sense. It's been on my to-do list to carve out a little bit more detailed.
Yeah, no problem. Cool. Yeah, and if there, I know that there are like Trello boards and things like that of upcoming, in progress or on the roadmap type of things. Do we also have a priority? This might be kind of on the back end then for you guys of sprints and things like that of what's taking priority. But it'd be fun to know, like, okay, this lag thing that's been happening, that's top of priority. Then we don't have people uh, who aren't maybe familiar with the application and dev life cycle coming in complaining and saying it's not done yet, it's not done yet. Like, yes, we know that this is at the top of our priority, so don't worry. That's what we're working on most of the time. It may not be there, but I think some people kind of come in and FUD or complain and say this or that, and we know that you guys are working on things in the background. But if we also had visibility into kind of what's being prioritized, might I would like to know. Like, you don't have to share it, but that would be cool for me. And
Yes.
I'll stop talking. Sorry.
No, all of this is great feedback, the truth. Thank you for coming up. In terms of like our prioritized, we have a public roadmap. Have you checked that out?
Yes, I have seen that with like some of the upcoming stuff, or like this is in the works, in progress, something like that.
Exactly. So that shows you at a very high level how we're approaching the roadmap and what's being prioritized and what's completed, what's in progress, and what's still to come.
Mhm. Gotcha. Okay, cool.
All right, thank you so much for your time, The Truth. Next up, we have Kaiser coming in to speak. Please come on over. Hey.
Hello. Good time zone. Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. I just have a few questions. I've seen the data. It's so amazing. A lot of stuff. Thank you so much for your work, guys. My first question is I made a suggestion before about the remember the global quest. There's no time there, or there's no place for you to see when the item is going to be to at least to expire. Is there any way that we can see that at least on the maybe under data, or at least on the UI, so that the user can see when the redemption is going to end or when an event is going to end?
Yes, we have a fix for that coming in the next release. So it'll display the remaining time like it did in the past. So we'll have a fix for that.
Awesome. The second question I have is that I'm not sure if it has been asked. I just actually arrived. I didn't know what happened earlier. I'm sorry, but um, the booster 4, 5, and 6. What are your thoughts if we are going to open them in the marketplace?
It's possible down the road that we may, but it is one of the rewards that we have that we know can't really be extracted. I think once we have a greater diversity of things to reward players, we'd be more open to putting it onto the RMP. Um, but until then, we're planning on keeping it out of there. But we are planning greater reward diversity with new features coming down the pipeline. So, um, how long it takes before we feel comfortable putting them on the RMP, it's hard to say right now. But for the time being, we are holding them back.
Okay, awesome. Because I was just thinking about the long-term game. If, for example, right now we have a lot of these users who are they have all level 10 lands, right? The only thing that they will do is that they will push for boosters, and after that, I don't know what is maybe their future plan for the farm sim. So that one, I'm trying to see if we have that and if we are actually doing progression. So if that's actually has any focus. But thank you for that one. My last question. I'm not sure if this is an alpha or anything, but um, from the data itself, there is these 3 items. It was a chain quest, it seems. It's showing as like an exchange. They have an exchange for booster 4, 5, and 6 with only 1,000 unim, 2,000 unim, and 3,000 unim. I don't see them in story quest, and I haven't seen them yet. But yeah.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. One of the features that went out with 2.1 is our ability to require Unim or RBW as a quest input. Before 2.1, we weren't able to do that. So those 3 quests were kind of both testing, the ability to have a token as an input for quests to get a reward, as well as testing chaining for a limited time quests, like two tests in one. Once we verified that the functionality was working, we disabled that. Generally, we don't like to delete data once in because it's just safer not to. So that's why you still see them, but those were never intended to be in game. Those were just tests to make sure the quest functionality that we were adding was working.
See, well, there's this thing though. You mentioned that you guys were not deleting quests, but I think quest 28 to I think the 32 or I think 36, the daily ones,
Yeah,
they're missing.
that
So
that was
yeah.
definitely a bug that was not meant to go out, and it will be fixed in the next release.
I see. Okay. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you so much for your time, Kaiser. Happy time zone. Okay, next up we have Goliath Rolls. He's coming over. Hello, hello.
Hey, can you hear me okay? Excellent. Okay. Hey, so I just wanted to give a shout out to Haku because I don't know who was on the stream in that or had a chance to.
Oh, Goliath, your mic is a little weak. Can you
Yeah.
speak up a bit more into the mic?
Okay, let's try that. Can you hear that?
A little better.
A little bit. Yeah.
Make sure I
Hey,
got the,
twist that volume knob to the right. Crank her up to 11.
hold on. Let me make sure I got the right mic. Hold
Give it some juice, baby.
on. Can you hear that?
Oh,
That
there we go.
sounds a bit better. Yeah.
There we go. I had to switch mics. So okay, I like 3
Perfect.
mics on this thing. Okay, there we go. All right. So I don't know who was on the stream. I know I had some folks on the stream last week with Haku and that on the Flippanine. But I gotta say that they did a stellar job. They basically gave out a lot of stuff. Really kind of gave a lot of kudos out to Crypto Unicorns for the platform support that they got going on there, and they're looking for feedback. So if you go over to Haku and you got some ideas in terms of what essentially you think might improve the marketplace over there. They're willing to hear you. So I just want to make sure I mention that here. But I mean, they gave out a shadow corn. That blew my mind that they actually were giving out a shadow corn. So at any rate, that's a little bit of a note on that. But I did want to ask a question since you did put it out there. When do you think we will see racing this summer? I mean, is it going to come out soonish or that kind of thing?
So that'll be after Tribes, and
Okay.
then likely after Team RPG. So data is largely to be determined there.
Okay. All right, cool. Look forward to that. And I gotta say that you guys are doing stellar work on the jousting. I mean, I'm playing it every day. I wasn't playing it before, and even though I have kind of sort of meh corns, I'm giving it a shot, and I'm starting to think out, what type of strategies I can use in terms of stats to put them in. I do agree though that if we do a max stat corn type for us folks that have below threshold corns, I think it will also help as well. So that's all I got.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I'm glad you're enjoying jousting for sure.
Yep. Good work.
Thanks, man. Appreciate all the feedback.
Thank you so much, Goliath Rules. Okay, so let me see. Do we have other speakers who would like to come on over? None for now. Hmm. And we're out of written questions as well. We can take this opportunity to talk more about the ELO system that we're planning to develop. So, how are we going to start on that? Do we have like ideas already, or is it just in conception for now?
I think it's on drawing board. There's a lot of ways that you can calibrate it, but I don't know that we're ready to reveal the specifics. One thing that I could talk about a little bit that's top of mind and the community was talking about is the Do platform. I kind of floated it internally and it hasn't gotten a ton of responses. And I was kind of waiting for an internal pulse check before I talk to the community, but I can maybe share some high level stuff. It's a platform that's very similar to Blur on Ethereum. It's an NFT marketplace where you can do batch kind of floor offer type things. And the idea is that you have these quote Blur farmers that bid and do different incentives to try to get Blur tokens that get airdropped. I think Do is very similar concept, except just built on Polygon. So it's an open marketplace. I think Crypto Unicorns is already on there. It's a pretty new marketplace, but just for context, they have this elevated. I think they call it their gold mark members. It's almost like a blue check mark on Twitter type concept. Not that you have to pay a subscription for it necessarily, but it's like folks that they've reached out to and partnered with, and then the users that do bids and provide liquidity and stuff on those collections get, I think, 10% extra Do tokens whenever that airdrop comes at some point in the future. So several community members mentioned that we should be on there and we should be partnered because it's kind of inevitable and we might as well get listed and kind of benefit from that foot traffic of Polygon users that are using Do and seeing Crypto Unicorns with the check mark. It's sort of a sign of legitimacy. I think what I'm planning on doing is writing up just a little summary of what the requirements are and getting a temperature check from the community, and we'll kind of decide together if it's something we want to do. There are some asks on their side. It's not a lot, but it is an ask, right? So it's something that we'll have to consider and weigh. I want to talk internally first, and then we'll present it to y'all, and we'll make a decision on whether or not we go for it and partner with Do. But it was a great conversation. The BD biz dev person I spoke to today was very friendly, kind of walked me through the platform, shared some of their numbers, and I was skeptical, and I admit that I think you guys were definitely right that it was worth investigating, and we'll decide if it's worth the opportunity cost.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of our community members are super excited for that. Oh, Glatrals wants to come back to speak. Hey, long time no.
Long time no see. I have one more question actually, and I don't know if you're going to be able to say anything about this, but I'm going to ask it anyways. So, what exactly is this Metaverse Go partnership? where's that going? Because I see a lot of stuff like I poked around on that. It looks pretty cool. Can you say anything about that?
Yeah, so our marketing team put that together very recently. It was not a specific activation that I had a hand in. That doesn't mean that I shouldn't be able to answer your question and know some details about it. But I did not have a specific hand in this one, so I don't want to give any fake news or anything
Yeah,
or
exactly.
misspeak. So
Yeah.
I apologize for that. But um, this might not be the right crowd to be able to speak in detail about Metaverse Go and all the benefits there.
That's
I
fine.
think high level though, I can say that we're exploring all options for user growth, and there are a bunch of these various Web3 platforms. Some of them are like play to earn questing, some of them are communities that have various incentives, some of them are like, potential rental platforms, and everybody's got these different Venn diagrams with each other. So I think we're starting to just explore more calculated experiments of, hey, maybe this Web3 community will be a good match for us. Some of the folks that we've attempted to do airdrops with before, I've started to reconnect with and talk on a higher level, like, what if we just kind of do a town hall or something, or like I'll come over and do an AMA in your Discord to see if we can activate some of those people that have drops or claims just sitting there waiting, that kind of stuff. So this is
I
one
think
of
that's a good
those
answer.
experiments.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer. I think in the end, I mean, the people ask about marketing and stuff like that, and I gotta say that if you aren't involved with some of the stuff that is going out on the Twitter feed and you aren't investigating it yourself, you should take that opportunity to do it, because what I see is that there is a lot of effort on doing marketing, and you just got to follow, you just got to pay attention. I think the team from my perspective is doing good work in that, and so kudos. So there you go. Okay, that's all I got now.
Appreciate it, man. It's all a work in progress. So I'm continuing to A/B test, and the framework is small experiments, double down on what works, and keep doing that ad infinitum till victory.
All right, thank you so much, Goliath Rules. Again, we do have one of our regulars, Nebbiolo, asking an age-old question: when Mythic lands utility?
I need more context on this meme. Like, anecdotally, I basically only use Mythic Land, and I call me a layman, but I like that it's easy and I don't have to think about matching things, and I can just do anything with any unicorn and it feels great. So, I mean, maybe that's not classic utility, but it, I don't know. Corbin or Jeff, can you educate me on this meme, or what? As an example, Goliath, like, do more, like, what are some examples of things that Mythic Land should do that the other lands don't do? Or, I'm not trying to be defensive here. I really am just a lazy unicorn player, so I just loaded up on Mythic Lands from the beginning because I knew it was going to be challenging, and I wanted to beat Jeff at his own game and be like, "Thanks for the Mythic Lands, dude."
I think, long story short, we launched without having all the utility wanted for mythic unicorns and lands in place. And yeah, it's taken us time to actually put in some utility for mythic unicorns. We started with the gathering utility, then farm utility, jousting utility. We have not yet been able to show the same kind of love for mythic lands, but that is definitely something that we want to do. Um, it's just one of those things where the amount of stuff we want to do for the game is just really huge, and we're trying to uh, prioritize the best we can, and there will be more utility for mythic lands. Um, I don't have any insight yet on
Well,
where the priority for that is.
it's an interesting analogy, though, of Mythic Unicorns and Mythic Land, where I'm like kind of thinking out loud here. So I want to be careful not to put my foot in my mouth, but I feel like they're not exactly one to one, because mythic parts are part of the risk of breeding in this quest of, like, you kind of get rewarded for taking that risk because you want to make offspring that have whatever mythic focus genes. Mythic land, you could almost just say we have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 land. you know, and Mythic is just the highest of those tiers. It's not, they're both called Mythic, but they're sort of dissimilar in certain core ways. But I don't know, maybe I'll ponder on that a little bit. Like, what are some ways that we could give utility to Mythic Land, you know, that isn't just, hey, 10% bonus? Like, well, okay, now we're we're just you know, maybe there's something more interesting or more elegant than that in terms of utility.
The current thinking was using not just Mythic Land, but just land in general as a requirement for certain crafting recipes. We had thought of, you know, for example, like an Omnom land. Maybe there's Omnom oriented stuff, that recipes that only workshops on Omnom lands have access to, and Mythic would have access to everything. You know, that's something that we've
Yeah.
talked about for a while. I think that becomes more relevant when we have more stuff in the game to craft, and perhaps that's why we've kind of punted on this. But yeah, having land as a requirement for certain crafting recipes is something that we've wanted to do for a while, and I think we'll eventually get around to. I just can't speak to when.
I love that though. I think that is a much more elegant solution of it's not exactly like one-to-one utility, but it bakes it in where, you know, even rare lands have this scaling. Okay, cool. I have access to all the recipes, whereas the lesser lands are more limited for the core loop.
Well, yeah, and a couple updates ago, we I think it was the winter update. We had got the ability to have multiple recipes for the same thing, so then we could play around with efficient recipes, inefficient recipes, and you've already seen that with some of the recipes we used in the winter event. So that's also something we could utilize this new land requirement once that, you know, gets in game.
That's cool. Lots to think about there.
Yeah, completely. So we're going to have to cut it short. We have reached the end of the town hall. If you'd like further conversations on Mythic Land, please reach out to us on the Sirius channel. We love speaking with the community there. That concludes our town hall number 38. We will see you next week for town hall number 39 with CEO and co-founder Aaron Beyerschmidt. We appreciate your thoughts and your insights from the previous update and look forward to internalizing all of the responses on the current game updates thread. Keep them coming. We will post a recording of this town hall on our socials if you would like to give it a real listen. Don't forget to share this with your friends and fellow Unicorn fam who couldn't make it. And if you have more burning questions, feel free to reach out in our support channels, the Mod Support channel and the Ask the Devs channel. This has been LG Internal Team's Town Hall, hosted by Sparkly Unicorn with Woody Unicorn on Tech. Good morning, good night, and see you in-game on Discord and in the forums, Unicorn fam. Can I get an uwu?
Ooh.
Everyone's in suspense right
Jeff's trying to summon the courage.
Ooh,
now. Love
that's
it.
the best you're gonna get.
It's amazing. All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Everybody.